One of the great joys of this job, and there are many, is finding a car that everybody agrees about. This is just one of those cars. It's really hard to describe. I mean, there are a lot of cars that people really like, but in the end they'll always say, oh, I couldn't own that, for whatever reason. And a lot of the times those are good reasons. But what I keep hearing time and time again from other people is, that's a lot of car. Why wouldn't you? But what it really comes down to is this car is the total package. It's gorgeous, it's fast, it's full of tech, it's full of stuff. Nobody honestly dislikes this car. You can dislike elements of it. I don't like the saggy rear end, but that's a very small thing to dislike out of a car that is titanically brilliant. That's not to say either that it is the best of its genre. I think you'll find a sharper driving and more rewarding experience from a BMW M5. You will get a bit more theatre out of the E63 AMG, but nothing can beat this all-round experience that you get from the RS7. It's not a cheap car, and that's another reason why I think this is the total package, because you get from this car things you don't get from the M5. You don't get the comfort in the M5 that you get in this car. You don't get the looks. The M5 looks fine, but it's not as dramatic and pretty as this car. You don't get being able to just slip it into comfort and drive it like a normal human being. This car can be driven by anyone, and it can be driven like an base model A3. It is the total package. It's not even the newest car out of this lot either. This thing is fantastic in the corners. I mean, it does understeer, there's no doubt about it, but it's rear biased. So when you punch out of a corner like that, the understeer is quelled by that booming torque figure. It just really, it makes this thing absolutely boogie. And while, again, this doesn't have the ultimate rear-wheel drive ability of other cars, it's got plenty of that percentage that those cars have. So, you know, this is probably 95% of what an M5 or an E63 can do, but being 95% more usable in every day. I mean, like, in the wet, you've got to slow down in those other two. You've really got to slow down. And I would not enjoy a track day in the wet in those other two cars as much as you can in this car. But also on the road, you can have a ball in the wet. You can and be safe and be happy. Changing road conditions won't catch you out. I mean, turn off the traction control and, you know, all bets are off. But my goodness, this car is just so effortless. But unlike other Audis, and some fast Audis do suffer a little bit from a little bit of inertness, this doesn't have that. It's got the grunt, but it's also got a little bit of playfulness from the rear end that most other Audis don't have. It really is a tremendous thing. I was an instant convert when I drove this car. I was not sure. It's heavy. It understeers, but it doesn't understeer any more than, say, a Lamborghini Huracan. It doesn't understeer any more than, say, the new breed of Ferraris, which, you know, a couple of them do understeer a bit. So it's all relative. It's not understeering like a Yaris. Some people would have you believe that's what's going on. But what this car also has is that tremendous exhaust note. It really is. It's so much fun. You know, dropping down a couple of gears and getting the poppity bang. It's very silly. It brings out the 8-year-old in me. You can have so much fun in this car and not feel bad about it. Okay, you might feel a little bit bad, but you know, it's even got stop-start. I mean, it's not a total kind of hairy-chested sports car. It's got stop-start. It's got, you know, room for the kids. It's got the screens and the aircon and the heated seats, and it's certainly not a purist car, and purists will almost certainly scoff at the all-wheel drive, but times are changing. This is the new world. We have a turbo V8. It's terrific. Both of its competitors are tremendous cars. Don't get me wrong, I love them both and would cheerfully own all three at once. But if you had to have just one, I reckon this would be it. I really do. And just when you think it can't get any better, you then realise that this is basically the same as the RS6. So if you haven't got quite as much money, or need a boot because you need to carry the dog, just get the RS6. I mean, it's even good out on the freeway. I mean, you're barreling along at 110, it's quiet, it's comfortable, you put it in comfort, the suspension just softens up, stick it in cruise, and this will drive you in traffic as well with the stop-start, and you just have to steer. I mean, you can make this car almost drive itself, but you can switch all that off and go hunting. It's so much fun. It's not the best out of the three competitors for a track car, but I reckon you're nuts taking your own car out on the track. I think that's just asking for it. Of course, the most fun you can have, is really in the corners. It's so much fun in the corners. It's not perfect, not by any means, and out on the track, that lack of perfection will certainly come through. But this is a road car, and its performance is very much biased towards the road because you've got that all-wheel drive security. You've got, an engine that is eminently drivable and it never really puts a foot wrong. You've got this great 8-speed automatic transmission from ZF, which I've never driven it and not liked it. It's such a great transmission, and it handles this engine as though it's nothing. Oh, well, got all this power and torque, so what? Easy. It's such an amazing car. It really is. And you don't have to spend the 300 grand that this one's worth. I mean, this has got some very expensive paint, and it's got some very expensive brakes. And look, out of the option pack, I would definitely go with the dynamic option pack. That is 25 grand well spent, because the brakes on this thing, the carbon ceramics, are out of this world. They are the best brakes on a road car that I have driven, because the stopping power is immense, and when the go power is colossal, you want immense stopping power, and this has got it, and that's and on a track, a big heavy car like this will run out of steel brakes very, very quickly. Everything will boil, everything will get hot, it'll stink. But this thing, it just kept being pounded, and recovered every time. No, you'd really have to be going a long, long time to bugger the brakes in this car. It really is quite something. Yeah, other cars have carbon ceramic brakes, but you wouldn't even know it. This is the thing. You can put someone in the driver's seat of this, and there's no compromises. You don't feel like you have to say, the brakes are a bit funny until they warm up, or you must warm up the brakes. I mean, good to go, it's just me. You shouldn't be warming up brakes on a road car. This isn't a 1980 supercar, although it's well faster than one.